Hi, I'm Angelique James. I'll be talking to you guys about video games. Video games have attracted many different age groups from young to old. It's a growing industry. Every day when you turn on the TV, you get on YouTube, you see a video game ad. There are a lot of theories about video games, how they are very negative and it can impact a child in a negative manner. But I'm here to tell you that not all video games are bad, that there are some pros to having your child play video games. And a lot of video games now, like Leapfrog, let's see, um, there's video games that help your child learn their ABCs, count. I know when I was going to high school, we had a standard test called FCAT, and we played video games that allowed us, that was educated based. So don't want people thinking that video games are all violence and that they only lead to school shootings, such as the one Parkland that just happened in Florida. That's not always the case, and there are more pros than cons to video games than people credit. For the most part, I believe most parents, when I talk to them, they always say, oh, my child is always playing the video game. They don't want to do homework. They don't want to sit down at the dinner table. But video games have a very positive aspect that more people recognize. One important thing about video games is they provide children problem-solving skills and logical thinking. Due to this, children can create a reason well. For instance, the game Leapfrog. You know, it's not like, what's 1 plus 1. It's not like that. They'll probably put a puzzle that has 1 and then another puzzle that has another 1, and you have to match those. That gets their cognitive, or if they have it on the shape, it makes you realize and make you use things. Or if there's a problem in the game, let's say you're playing a game and the character in the game has a problem, and you figure out how to fix it. And some kids, that can correlate in their real life. Like, say if they're playing an anti-bullying game and the character in the game is being bullied, and it gives them the option. They can either yell at the bully, or they can politely defend themselves, or they can tell the teacher. So that gives the child also, like, as they're thinking and playing the video game, it's going into their mind, and perhaps when they're going through a situation at school, they will know that they need to contact their instructor and tell their instructor, like, hey, this is going, or they can politely stand up and say, hey, I don't like the way you're talking to me, or can you not be so mean? Did I do something to you? And then, for the negative effect, it can show you the consequences, how it can escalate that situation to where you didn't want it to escalate. Another thing about video games, it has been discovered to increase sense of coordination, like eye and hand, especially, I think you see this absolutely a lot in Wii games. And while we're talking about Wii's, a lot of children, obesity is a problem in this nation. A lot of children have been using Wii games and playing video games to lose weight and those things of those natures. But when you're having to hold a video console like that, and your movement is coordinating the movement of the character, it shows you your coordination. When you move this, what other part are you moving? And even if they're not thinking about it, it's like their mind is still going. And because of Wii was the first one to actually kind of have that, idea of a console that you move, and you move and it moves along with you. Other video game products such as PlayStation and Xbox has also came up with products like that. Also, educators, as I keep on saying, are using video games in the classroom. I know this from a personal experience. I love it. Even now, I'm in nursing school. I go back and I look at little mnemonics, little cartoons, and like playing little games. Like, for instance, we have arterial blood gases, and I had a absolutely terrible experience, and I couldn't learn it. I was going to tutoring. I was trying to reach out to my classmates. My mom's a nurse, so I tried to reach out to my mom, and it just wasn't sticking. So my instructor, told me there's a video game and it supposedly helps you with your ABGs. At this point in time, we have the test Thursday. Maybe you should try that. So on the video game, it's like your ABGs, which are arterial blood gases, and it tells you the amount of carbon, the amount of oxygen, the amount of what else? Bicarbonate, and it kind of tells you by the lab values if you're having a respiratory problem or a metabolic problem. So anyways, we go on and I'm on there and I'm playing the game, and they made it into a tic-tac-toe game. So even that simple concept, it was so fun that I didn't feel like I was learning this hard topic that I was so scared. I was dreading, like every time I would open the book. Sometimes when you open the book, it's not that your child doesn't want to study. It could be that the material is so hard, and that fear of not being able to understand it overcomes them, and that's kind of how I was feeling. But with this, I was playing the game, I was understanding it, and even in my mind when I was taking the test, I was doing that. Another good a good aspect of video games are that it has been linked that video games teach children with autism disorders. As you know, autism has increased in this country. Some people say that more people are being diagnosed, like, it wasn't a thing back then and maybe they're being misdiagnosed. But it's showing that this is helping for these kids, and these kids are, more challenged at learning, could possibly take longer than the average child. So anything that can keep a child, moving in the growth development as their other peers, it's a very beneficial product. So that's why it kind of irritates me when people only talk about the cons of video games. Video games increases your child coordination, it gives them problem thinking skills, it helps kids with special needs, it helps even adults. As you can see, I'm 23 and I used a video game to help me learn a hard topic. It simplifies it, and it kind of, it's like tricking the mind that it's just a game. So if it's just a game, it takes away that pressure of, I need to learn this, I need to learn this, I need to pass this test, I need to pass this test. And also, video games make you think quickly. You're in the game, you're running, or whatever the case may be, something happens, you want to move quickly. Or those video games where you're trying to not make the boulder fall on you. So I believe if we as a country can stop putting these negative connotations on video games, I'm for one, a firm believer that even, and it's sad to say, even if we didn't have violent video games, I still think kids or sad situations like Parkland would happen. I think video games are good and they have very positive effects, but when a parent thinks that a video game could raise their child, I honestly think that's the problem. And there's different type of video games. They're rated, PG, rated R, whatever the case may be. So you can look at that when you're buying that for those video games for your child. Or a teacher even uses it, So for one, I am for video games. They're awesome. They're awesome learning techniques, not only educational-wise, but life skills that you will take forever. Thank you for your time. Once again, I'm Angelique James. Bye.